Film buff.
Erring.
Let's do Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Film Buffering. I'm one of your hosts, Colter Harkins, and I'm here today with Alex Tate and Todd Foley. We're kicking off October with some horror. It is Malignant.
I'm having visions.
The body of Dr. Florence Weaver was found brutally murdered in her home this morning.
Did you know her?
No, but I saw her die. I'm seeing things. I'm seeing murders as they're happening.
Hello?
He says his name is Gabriel. I think he's someone from my past.
Happy birthday.
Whatever happened to you before you joined our family hurt you in a way that I can't even imagine.
Stop saying that.
Maddie, who are you talking to?
Gabriel.
Is he your imaginary friend? Imaginary?
He's the devil.
Whatever it was,
It's back. He killed again. He's getting closer. He wants to talk to you. Mom, what do you know? He's coming for me. Who are you, Gabriel?
Malignant. Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are, in fact, terrifying realities. Directed by James Wan, starring Annabelle Wallace, Maddie Hassan, George Young, Nicole Brianna White, and some other folks. It was horrific. Or was it? Let's find out. Alex, what do you think about this movie?
I think horrific is a great description of this movie, but
What?
not
Do tell
because it's
more.
terrifying. I wanted to root for this movie because it kind of looked scary, and there were some parts of it that I was like, okay, but the whole time it was like the script was terrible, the acting was terrible, the twist was so dumb. And overall it was really bad. Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense at any time.
What? This movie?
We can get into deeper conversations about the movie itself, but overall real bad.
Todd, what are your thoughts?
Oh man, I actually, I don't really. At the end of the day, I did not care that the acting was bad. I didn't care that the story was bad. I thought this movie was fun. It wasn't what I expected at all. And yeah, despite the real lack of reality and lack of really serious acting. I thought the campiness of it was pretty rad, and it kind of just reminded me of an older '80s horror movie, kind of a little throwback. I think they. We're kind of trying to do a tribute to those, and that a lot of like the cheesy acting was intentional. And man, I enjoyed it. I had a great time.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I did not know what to expect at all going into this movie, aside from having watched some of James Wan's horror films. I mean, Saw obviously is an all-time classic, crazy, like genre-defining movie.
I want to play a game.
That created this massive success, and he's done like pretty decent work and some weird offshoots of working on Aquaman and some other stuff. But his Insidious films are pretty intense, or like serious films, and then this was totally out of left field and a totally different direction. And I agree with Todd. I think that it really was like he set the tone right away in that first scene, because I was like, this seems a little bit off. Like it seems a little bit cheesy and forced, and like they're doing something, and I'm like, is this supposed to be serious? But they pushed it just enough that it kind of allowed me to like the movie warmed up. Like it really took its time getting into it, but kind of built on that initial weird kind of off-putting quality that it had, and then built into this really entertaining, albeit very strange and not making any sense kind of a movie. It was fun to watch in the end. The second half of the movie was a ton of fun to watch. But yeah, it was definitely not, it didn't take itself seriously at all, but it had some really interesting like camera techniques, and he did a lot of big choices with this movie, which I think really worked for it. Alex, rebuttal.
I am in shock right now because this is not what I expected at all. I can agree with you that it did, like, it ramped up and got better towards the end. And I never found myself hating it, like hating watching it. Yes, I hated it, but I mean, I didn't hate watching it. Like it was okay to watch. There's some movies we've watched where I'm just like, I have to finish this because I'm doing a review, and this one I'm like, okay, I can finish this. But I think this is the second time that you have. I'm not sure Todd was on, and what is that called? Future War, where you guys are like, oh yeah, they made it crappy intentionally. So I guess I'm just not. I didn't feel that way with this film. I felt like it was, they picked bad actors because they just did, and they had a bad script because it was a bad script, and it made no sense because it made no sense. But I mean, if
I definitely agree.
If they did it on purpose, then they did a great job.
I do agree with you that the script was a hot piece of garbage. That script was terrible, and I don't think that part of it was intentional in any way. I do think the tone of it was intentional, and I think that they kind of knew what they were, like what the end product was going to be, so they tried to do it well in the sense of like the quality of the shots and that kind of stuff. But then they kind of heightened the tone of all of the performances, so it did come across as stilted for sure. So I think, and which is a really tough line to hit. So it could easily come across as just bad acting, and it's hard to really be able to, like, without knowing the actual director's choices and the way that he's directing those actors. You don't know if it's on him or the actors, or if that was the intention and he wanted it to kind of push you out of it a little bit. So it's tough to say, but I do think, yeah, horrible script. The dialogue was trash, and the concept was really ridiculous. But that said, I do think that he made a fun movie to watch.
Yeah, I think Voldemort being on the back of Professor Quirrell's head was just an interesting twist. I didn't mind the twist, but they never explained in any way how Gabriel has like superpowers.
Yeah.
He's a mutant.
Like because he's on the back of her head, he can like talk through radios and control lights and kill every cop in the police station. And
I mean, man, you're just really looking too deep into this thing, I think.
wait, but why is that? That's like what you should do with films. I feel like most films, like, they at least explain it. Like if they had like a line or two that like explained it, I could be like, okay, that's dumb, but at least they're explaining it. And this was just like, nah, he's a he's a twin. He's a parasitic twin, so he can control electricity and he can disappear when the lights turn on, and he can, I don't know. It just, they at least explained the like how she was seeing the murders, which was like that. Okay, all right, that makes perfect sense. But like they didn't explain any of the like superpowers, and if he was a demon, fine, but they never said anything like that.
The whole time, I mean, so like leading into the thing, like the first half of the movie, I was like, oh gosh, this is like a traditional demon horror movie, which I just don't like. And I was like, okay, well, here's another one of these, and I'm just gonna grin and bear it, because I don't really like being scared while I watch movies at all. And then all of a sudden, it was like just this rad action flick, and she's like, dude, that whole, it reminded me of Cabin in the Woods while I was watching it. It just, where it went to like totally bizarre, over the top, hilarious. And like just that whole scene where she's in the jail cell and there's all the people in like the different costumes, and she's just punching holes through chests and breaking their arms off and smashing faces. And then that whole scene where Gabriel whips the chair across the room.
Yeah.
Dude, I laughed so hard at that scene. It was so great, just the fact that it was such a dramatic toss, and it just smoked the guy. It was just such a like a satisfying. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a Philistine. I don't care though.
The Philistines are they're attacking!
Because that was an awesome little moment for me.
Well, it felt kind of like the style turned into like an Evil Dead or like an Army of Darkness, where it just like kind of like felt like it was going one way and then totally like whipped in a different direction. Where I agree. I had that same feeling when I was like, this is like a weird demon thing, and we get it. You've done that before, and it does a good job with those. But for him to be like and turn that completely on its nose and do this wild action nutso sequence with a horrible twist that I agree made no sense at all. But it was just, again, it was fun to watch. It was just entertaining. And you did kind of have to like accept the ridiculousness of the whole thing to enjoy it, for sure. I was trying to remember. So the actress, I do feel like, I don't know, I wasn't blown away by her performance, but I don't think that she had enough to work with to really like wow me inside of that character. I think she did a fine job.
The dialogue was terrible. I wrote down
so bad. Yeah. Oh,
my favorite line. I've always yearned for a blood connection with someone, yet in the end, it was always right in front of me. You will always be my sister. And the whole time they're like talking just normal, and then that last line, it's like old English. I've always yearned for blood.
Dude, I was in it. I didn't care. Didn't care one bit.
That's fine.
I was totally on board.
That's fine. How'd you feel about the random, like, okay, so if they are going like super like campy, at least the like weird hospital scene made sense, where the girl like turns the corner and there's a freaking like castle hospital.
Yeah.
And then she like goes in, and then it's empty, right? And except for all the files are still there, of course. And then there's like a scary sound, and then you're like, oh, what's it gonna be? And then they're like, nah, she's just back at home now. She's just back at home watching the thing with her mom. I guess if they're going for campy and ridiculous, then that scene made complete sense.
I mean, I just can't come up with a scenario where they're not going for that. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy out for them for sure. So if
All right, but it's a great one too.
Yeah, but like there's certain movies where I feel like they're doing it. Like Last Circus, okay, they're obviously like going for crazy. But this one I was like, nah, this is just kind of a bad movie.
But you think you really thought that first sequence that they were taking that seriously? Like that initial sequence? Oh no,
trying
that felt like it felt like intentionally dated, like they were doing like a Frankenstein, like an old school.
Well, sure, but making it dated doesn't mean they were trying to make the movie bad. It just means they were trying to do like a different.
It felt intentionally like this is dated, not like oh, this is supposed to look like old footage, and now we're cutting to like modern day. It felt like it was like an intentional choice that set off like we're taking this, like we're shooting this well, but we're also doing it like kind of winking at the audience a little bit to say, yeah, this is like, don't expect this to be the same stuff that you've seen with Conjuring or something like that. I think he did try to play into that a little bit to throw the audience off, or when it turns into like a completely different direction. But I think that the wink was there the whole time. I don't know. I thought, because I was a little caught off guard. I was like, why is this so bad? This feels like it should not be as bad as it is, with how good this director is in general at this. And so then that's why I kind of like, I don't know. It wasn't blatantly there, but I do think that it was.
I guess.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Todd.
I think the moment I knew that it was, or that I thought that it was going for it intentional, was when the lady just right at the end of that scene like stares straight at the camera and is like, we have to remove the cancer. And it was like, okay, that was like, yeah, that wasn't like an attempt to make a serious dramatic moment.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe. You guys could be right. I guess I watched it as it was supposed to be a good horror movie, and because I don't know why you'd intentionally spend like millions of dollars on making a crappy movie just as a joke.
No, I don't think it's a joke. I think it's definitely like kind of just a tribute. This is a tribute. Or a throwback to the 80s horror scene that was kind of campy unintentionally.
Yeah, but I feel like you can make a good movie that does that. Like you mentioned, Cabin in the Woods. That's a fantastic movie. I love that movie, and it's not like over the top or like bad. I mean, it is over the top, but it's not like the script is good, the acting's good, the story's good.
I mean, like there's like a whole like Scooby-Doo Shaggy character in that movie that's
but he's
just
good.
Yeah, but it's still silly for the sake of
it. I completely agree, but the script is good. Like his lines are funny and are good. They're not stupid, and like his acting performance is good. Where like this movie, you watch the abusive husband in the first scene, and I'm like, who cast this guy?
That was bad. I agree. That sequence was not good at all.
But like, is that whole thing intentionally bad in your eyes? Like the acting is intentionally bad, or like I guess I'm trying to figure out the line where you guys think like it's intentional or it's not intentional.
I do think that the weakness of the script kind of made it more difficult for the tonal shift to work, because it kind of held the actors back. I think that is the reason that this was not a great movie, is because that element of it didn't hold itself up. And so then everything else kind of is trying to prop up the rest of the movie with like the fun stuff. It just does. It gets dragged down. I agree. But I think that is the crux of the issue, is when the dialogue is so bad, it makes everything else kind of fall apart.
I mean, I think I 90% agree with that, but a lot of movies that he's done specifically, like Insidious, the script's not very good. And those movies are pretty good.
Yeah. And so that's why I think that it is a more intentional choice to kind of push it into the camp a little bit more. But it's I think maybe where it could have been a little bit better is being a little bit more consistent tonally, in the sense of like the actors are bigger or more serious, but they were kind of both.
So you're saying like make it more obvious that it's intentional, or
just more consistent? Because it felt like she was like super serious, whereas like the sister character was more big, and then they were all kind of more character-y than they should have been.
Yeah.
But not consistently the same kind of character-y.
Yeah.
So then it feels like bad acting choices or inconsistent directing.
What I loved is all the serious horror fans, I think, were really pissed off by this movie. And, it's like they all were expecting some kind of really big deal, like real Conjuring Part 2, and it just threw it in their faces. And I kind of gained a little bit of glee out of that, too.
Whoops, don't you two start? Come back down here.
Whether it was intentional or not.
Or there's like the subtle things where it's like the more they show the character, you're like, that's a woman. Like that's definitely a woman. When you see there, like the whole chase sequence, I was finally like, oh, that's her, because you can tell that that's a woman that he's chasing after.
It was so obvious it was her.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as she was at the murder scene, I was like, okay, well, I thought she just had like a split personality. I was like, okay, this is your classic split personality movie, like Secret Window, or, all of them. There's so many of those. And then I honestly, I did like the twist. I laughed when the like, when Gabriel's like on the back of her head, like I did laugh. So I mean, if it was intentional, it got me because it was funny. But I wish they had explained, even maybe, I think I could have given it a couple more thumbs up of my rating later, if they had just explained why he had superpowers. Like, just explain that and I would be on board more.
Yeah, I agree. That was a dropped ball for sure. Butterfingers. That was something that bothered me. I was like, they just needed some kind of reasoning behind that they did nothing with.
Yeah. And it's weird that he like took over her body all of a sudden and like was turning. I mean, it reminded me of Tenet, how she was like running backwards. I was like, oh, it's Tenet. It was just kind of, I don't know if you noticed when she was like stabbing the dude on the bed, you could totally tell she was backwards.
Yeah.
But I didn't know why at that point, but I was like, the killer is like backwards. So makes sense, especially with the title of the movie. Oh, I like that. Oh, you got me.
Very tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of the camera sequences, I do think that he did some pretty cool, like the one where it's over the top and she's just going through the house. That was such a cool shot.
That was so interesting.
They did that. Yeah.
That was so interesting. Because usually it's like a dollhouse, like wall, like the walls are removed. It was kind of like the shot in Hereditary. I think it was like a dollhouse type shot, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, Hereditary. They like zoom in on a
house,
dollhouse or whatever, and then it becomes the room. So it was kind
Yeah.
of like that, but like from over top. I did like that shot a lot, actually.
And even the sleep paralysis and the peeling away of the world, that all that stuff
That's pretty cool.
was like,
Rad shots.
yeah, he did some really cool stuff with that, man. And that element of it was so strong. And again, I think it's another one of those things where he got too caught up in doing too many cool things for it to be like, okay, but then we're gonna take it, like, we're gonna throw all that away and make a really campy, funny movie at the end. Which again, shot
Yeah.
well. I mean, those fight sequences were so crazy.
They were
Yeah, it was
great.
like
It's so
it was like
fun.
Matrix. It was like the Matrix, the scene in the like or like the bottom of the building. Remember
Yeah.
with Trinity and Neo? That was a pretty. It was kind of like that. Reminded me of that.
Yeah,
a
or
lot.
like John Wick or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have more complaints, but I guess if you guys think they're intentional, it's every time I talk, it sounds like I'm just complaining about a movie that was intentionally bad.
No, but I think that's an issue that I'm sure a lot of people had with this movie is it just doesn't jive quite as well as it could have. So what were some other things that really bothered you about it?
The music was insanely weird. Like,
Liked it.
like I understand you liked it, Todd. Like she's like drilling in all the locks or whatever, and it was like, oh my gosh, what is this music? Or when the mom like fell through the floor, it did the same thing. It was like, and then she just screams. It was yeah, I mean, if it was campy on purpose, I mean, looking at it through that lens, like they did a great job. But I didn't watch it like that, I guess.
I think that is one of those. I don't know how, like, have you watched the old Evil Dead movies or anything of that, like, where they did start out with that intention of it being serious, and then it was like, okay, well, maybe it's not as serious as we can make it, so let's do something else.
Yeah, no, I have. I've seen those movies.
But yeah, I think it's
know.
hard to marry in our minds, I think, as generally as moviegoers, for a director to make a choice like that and to not do it 100% that way.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today.
What else did you guys like about it? Because I've been complaining about it the whole time.
I liked the opening credits music was just like this wild, like friggin' trip hop metal, and they're just like showing all these weird medical videos of them cutting out tumors and stuff. That was like just very, I don't know, it was very unique, I thought. And then, I mean, I don't know, like I said, I'm not a huge horror fan. You know, I like Saw 1, but then after that I thought it went off the rails. I liked The Conjuring 1, and then I thought it went off the rails. I like most of the first movies he does for all these things, and then so I was like, oh gosh, what's this going to be? And then I just had a great time and went into it with low expectations and laughed a lot. Freaking and I mean, I'll just go back to it. The chair throw really sold it for me. I don't care. That entire budget was worth the chair throw.
All right, I think we're running out of time, so let's wrap this one up. Final thoughts, Alex. Did we change your mind? You love this movie now. I can see it in your eyes.
Don't start with me. Go good, bad, good.
Todd, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I've said what I said. I had a great time at the end of it all. Like first half of the movie, first 3/4 of the movie, who cares? I left at the end of the movie, I was smiling and laughing. It was better than Aquaman. It was better than most of the Conjurings. It was better than most of the Insidious, and it was better than most of the Saws. So I'm going to give it a 6.5.
All right, Alex. What are your thoughts? Give it its final air.
All right. I think that I've said this, but I think that if they were going for over the top, ridiculous, campy, they should have made it do that 100%, because I didn't catch that. I didn't follow that. Same with, it's exactly like Future War. Like, I did not think it was intentional. I just felt like they sucked at writing a script and picked bad actors, and so you guys did not convince me. 2 thumbs.
Sick burn. I do think that there was a big missing ingredient, and I don't know if it was just that the dialogue was so bad that it made it inconsistent, or if something needed to be tightened, something needed to be changed a little bit for it to really work and to shine. It had so many fun elements and some great camera work and some, I wouldn't say even any real genuine scares, but some great horror elements that were a lot of fun to watch. It was very entertaining in the end. The second half redeemed it from what could have been a really terrible movie. I think it was, so in the middle. I'm going to give it 5 thumbs out of 10. Half of the movie was great. The first half was not great at all. And it was rough. But in the end, totally worth a watch. All right. Enough of that one. Let's take a look at what we're watching next week. Fear Street.
Which Fear Street?
The whole thing.
You're doing
all 3 movies.
There was a time when things were good on Shady Side. But now, that's all gone.
Oh man, I turn the wood around with the skeleton hand, yeah.
Hello?
Still alive.
Who is this?
It's happening again.
Tonight is Sunnyvale versus Shady Side. Red versus blue, good versus evil. Recommensicate color war!
Are you okay?
That was 1978. 5,937 days ago.
Shady Side, a history of horror, has earned it the nickname Killer Capital USA.
What's happening to us?
These massacres happen in Shady Side over and over.
You were the only person who survived. How do we end this?
You have to go back to where it all started.
1666.
The devil has come to feast on our misdeeds.
If they want a witch,
Witches! Witches!
I will curse this town forever.
It's been 3 centuries. It stops here. It stops with us. Who the hell was that?
How should I know? She was hot!
Your best chance is to run from this place.
Go, go, go! On Shady Side, we're all cursed. The devil is in me.
And since you're fighting these things, try not to die.
Welcome to the suck.
Come back from that, mother...
Ooh. to do that every time now.
Even after Halloween.
Even after.
Ooh, Christmas.
Ooh, Christmas movies. Thanksgiving movies.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope you are having a great week. Staying safe, staying healthy out there. We'll see you next time.
That's why you didn't kill Beverly. Because she wasn't afraid. And we aren't either. Not anymore. Now you're the one who's afraid. Because you're gonna starve.
Against the post, and still as he sees the ghost, he thrusts his fist against the post. Fear.
Film buff.